Hi, this is Julie Harland, and I'm your Math Gal. Please visit my website at yourmathgal.com, where you could search for any of my videos organized by topic. In this video, we multiply numbers by powers of 10, and we have a little intro to scientific notation. So we'll be multiplying numbers that may have decimals with numbers that are powers of 10. So you need to already be familiar with multiplying and dividing with decimals, and you also need to know the meaning of exponents and how to work with both positive and negative exponents. So these are all the problems that we do on this video. Let's quickly review multiplication with powers of 10. So see if you can do these three quickly. All right, 5 times 10, if you multiply that out, we have 50. 13 times 100 is 1,300, and 8 times 1,000 is 8,000. Now here's the easy way to do it. If you're multiplying by a number like 10, 100, 1,000, in other words, any number that has a 1 followed by some zeros, you simply tack on how many zeros there are to the original number. So if I have 5 times 10, you start with 5 and you tack on 1 zero, so you have 5 0. 13 times 100, there are 2 zeros, so I put the number 13 and I tack on 2 zeros. 8 times 1,000, I start with the number 8, and 1,000 has 3 zeros, so I tack on 3 zeros. So it's pretty simple if we have whole numbers here, right? Now what about if I had written this a little bit differently? 5 times 10 to the first, what does that mean? 10 to the first means 10. It means 1 with 1 0. So this is what you have to know about exponents, right? 10 to the first means 10. So 5 times 10 to the first should still be 50, right? So the easy way to figure this one out is you start with a 5, and this number up here, this exponent of 1, just tells you tack on 1 0. Now the second one could have been written as 13 times 10 squared, because 10 squared is the same thing as 100. So if it's written in this form, times 10 to some exponent, it means you're going to tack 2 zeros on. And the last one, 8 times 10 to the what power? 10 cubed is the same thing as 1,000, right? Because that means 10 times 10 times 10. So this would tell you to do 8 tack on 3 zeros, all right? So on the right, I've written it as powers of 10. I'm multiplying whole numbers by powers of 10. On the left, I've actually written out the number in standard form, either 10 or 100 or 1,000. Now, let's throw in a decimal. I'm going to have you think about many here. What if I said 2.35? You could think of that as $2.35, okay? Times 10. What would this be? So imagine you had $2.35. You had 10 of them. That's what multiplication means. You would end up with $23.50. Okay, so just thinking about many. Now, another way to do multiplication with decimals is you simply ignore the decimal and you do 235 times 10. So you think 235 times 10, which is 235, tack on the 0. And then you have to count how many numbers are after the decimal point and make it and so your answer, it has that many numbers after the decimal point. So if I wrote this 2350 up here, okay, right? So first I'm just thinking this, then I have to put the decimal point so there's 2 places after the decimal point, and that's where we could also get 2350, okay? Now what would be a simpler way of doing this? 2.35 times 10, if this was written as times 10 to the first, what you can do is take where the decimal point is right now and move it one space to the right. That's what happened here, right? I had 2.35, and notice in my final answer, the decimal is after the 3, right? This decimal moved one to the right. So 23.5. A lot of people like to draw a little picture. They go to the right one space, and that's where our final answer for the decimal will be. So let's try another one like that. All right, we've got 73.608 times 10 squared. So remember 10 squared means multiply by 100, so this should end up being a bigger number, right? So think of it as $73 and something times 100 of those $73. It's going to be a lot bigger number. So this 2 right here tells you to move the decimal point 2 to the right to get a bigger number, so that my final answer, 73608, the decimal point will be between the 0 and the 8, which is right here. So that's the answer. You can put a comma here if you'd like. All right, let's try a different one. How about 1.0964 2 times 10 cubed. All right, so try this one. 1.09642 times 10 cubed. All right, so I'm multiplying by, keep in mind what this 10 cubed really stands for. That's 1,000, right? So we should get a bigger number. And the 3 here tells you to move your decimal point 3 to the right. That's the shortcut. That's what we're learning, the shortcut here. So we have 1096.42. Makes sense? You have like 1 point something and you're multiplying by 1,000. Seems reasonable. 1 times 1,000 is going to be at least 1,000, right? So 1096.42. All right, let's do another one. 86.3 times 10 squared. This is a little bit trickier. It says move it 2 to the right. But you see there's nothing over here. There's only like one place you can see. What you have to do is imagine there's zeros that you could write after that. In other words, 86.3 is the same thing as 86.30, is the same thing as 86.300. You could keep adding zeros at the end after decimal points. Okay? So if you want, you could think if there's a 0 there, and that's where your decimal point is going to end up after that 0. So the answer here is going to be 8630. So this is just practicing multiplying by powers of 10, where we've got a whole number, right, for the exponent. Okay, it's a little shortcut. This problem right here, okay, the original problem, 1.09642, this is written in scientific notation, right? So that's a number written in what we called scientific notation. And so you're wondering, well, what's that mean? What does scientific notation mean? Scientific notation is a number where you have one digit starting either with a 1 or 1 through 9. So the first digit could be anywhere from 1 to 9, and then the decimal point is after it. So you have a number in that form. So it could be 1 point something, it could be 2 point something, 3 point something, and then you multiply it by 10 to some exponent. All right, so we're going to be working more with scientific notation in the next video, but let's look at a few more problems in scientific notation. So here are 3 problems in scientific notation, because what we have is a single digit between 1 and 9. So the first one is 5, that's the single digit, point something. Next one, the single digit is 8 point something, and the third one is 4 point something. And now we want to simplify each of these. So go ahead and put the video on pause and try these three problems. All right, so what happens in the first one? We're doing 10 to the first, so I'm going to move this decimal one to the right. This will become then 50.8. Second problem, you're going to move the decimal point 2 to the right, so we'll get 835.1. Third one, we're going to move it 3 to the right, decimal point, so we have 4080.01. So hopefully you had no trouble with that. This one's a little trickier. How about 2.3 times 10 to the fourth? What would that be? Try that on your own. Well, 2.3 times 10 to the fourth, I've got to move it. I have to write it down here. I'm going to have to move that decimal point 4 places. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I want the decimal point to be here, right? So you're going to have to fill in some zeros there for your answer. So your answer, which we want to write here, right? This is 23000, 23,000. Let's see if that makes sense to you. 2.3 times 10 to the fourth. That's multiplying by a pretty big number. You're multiplying by 10,000. 2.3 times 10,000. So we get 23,000. So in this video, we're just multiplying by positive powers of 10. We're going to, in the next video, multiplying by negative powers of 10. So do problems like 10 to the negative 3, etc. Please visit my website at yourmathgal.com, where you can view all of my videos, which are organized by topic.